Well, we're real estate consultants. We advise investors in real estate through the process of construction or investment through review of the building condition through a technical due diligence. It was clear to us that everywhere in Ukraine had huge opportunity for investors to find an opportunity here. The first time I started visiting regularly was in 2007, and I was here on behalf of a client looking for real estate investment opportunities at that time. And later on I was able to open our office here in Kiev in 2008. So since 2008, 2009 we've been here full time. It was the right time in our business to be interested in coming to Ukraine. Having established our business in Central Europe for some 15 years before that, yes. I became a resident in 2009 and I spent most of my time here, so I experienced all of those changes. For that period of time I've seen change always in a positive sense, and the change is slow and it's difficult to see when you're here looking at it. But from my foreign perspective, living here in Ukraine, I see a lot of positive change, and all for the good of the country, really. I anticipate that we'll see a return of the economy sooner than later, and that will encourage investment into the country. We have a huge existing portfolio of property in the country, residential, commercial, and logistics and other manufacturing. The question is that standard sufficient? And that's part of the demand process that needs to be taken into consideration. For a company today to be considering building a building, they would expect to do it to today's standards for tomorrow's needs. And so the existing building very often become redundant because they're too old. You can't insulate them, you can't operate them effectively. So from that perspective, there's a huge need for supply. New logistics buildings, new retail facilities, new offices, and all of the public sector, new hotels, new schools, new hospitals. Everything has a life sort of cycle, and we're at the point now where we can say confidently that the new construction processes that exist can bring advantages and benefits and efficiency to the built environment. Equally important is choosing the location, and that with local authority government help is a design in itself. And there's no point of building a hotel in the middle of the country, nobody will go there, and there's no point of building the wrong facility in the middle of the city. What we would call in English the town planning process has to be very clearly defined, and it has to be flexible enough to encourage investment, the right investment in the right property sector, in the right location, so that schools and hospitals can provide, infrastructure can supply. I think it's perhaps not always wisely chosen to build a very tall residential building or a very tall office building in certain locations. And certainly it's sad to see buildings built which are empty or unfinished. But you see empty buildings in London and they're only being used as an investment tool. People are buying it, holding it, waiting for the value to increase. That's not what we need. We need accessible residential accommodation. We need accessible buildings for the public generally. That's the wisdom behind choosing what building in what location, which is a partnership between the local authority and the investment market generally. That needs to be more sophisticated, more accessible, and more understandable than it maybe is today. Time changes everything. Things are improving every day with decisions that are being taken. To suggest things that can be simply affected is very difficult. One initiative that the government, I understand, has taken is a new department called Invest Ukraine, where that department is illustrating to the world the opportunities that exist here in Ukraine. And that's a really good initiative. People have access to information about opportunity, about sector, about assets that are available. It's just promoting the country. A lot of investors already are here, and they're already making those changes in all sectors of the economy. And that in itself is a guideline to other investors to see that there's successful business here in Ukraine now. With changes to systems, to the administration process, to access to the country and for the country to the rest of the world, improving, that will encourage. So I do see that positive change happening. And, you know, the automotive industry, agriculture, construction to a certain degree, materials, manufacturing and export, it's all very positive at the moment. For any business to start anywhere, you have got to do your research. It's not just about the marketplace, it's about how the marketplace operates. Ukraine has some very strong and successful rules and regulations on how to administer a business. You must understand that, and if you don't take that into consideration, it's very difficult to be successful. Running a business, you know, 90% of the job is looking after the administration of the company with employees, with procedures. The rest of it is actually generating the interest in the business. And I think that's very important for anybody coming to Ukraine or any other country to understand that first and be prepared to invest time in doing it properly. And once you've done that, then you have the chance to make a successful opportunity here. So if we are able to increase salaries, we're also able to reduce the grey economy. Reducing the grey economy means that the government is able to, through employers, collect more tax. And then the government can very happily demonstrate how that tax is reinvested into the country, because that's what it's for. If you do it properly, it is easy. Things that make it difficult are access to finance, repatriating profits, and really having international representation. If that exists, which it is starting to exist more and more, it makes investment easier. Direct investment has to be here to the country directly. It can't be through a third sort of route, and then taxes can be paid properly in the country here. If that's easy, that system is easy, that'll encourage inward direct investment. And I think that's something that is improving. That's the impression that I have. From my perspective, the clients that would be interested in investing here in real estate need to make a profit, and having access to that profit is, after tax paid here, is really essential. And the reason being is to repay the money that has financed the acquisition. And if you can secure finance in, let's say, England to invest in Ukraine and return to the bank the monthly payments, the monthly installments, and eventually the full loan and your profits, whilst generating tax and employment here in Ukraine, that simple process is fundamental that we need to have. It exists, but it's a little bit complicated. I think that needs to be demonstrated to the world of investors that that is a better process than it has been in the past. I think there's three easy types of tourism. There's the holiday where you sit in the beach and relax, or you go for sport. There's the holiday where you come for the history, and then there's the holiday where you come for maybe the city itself and see the city. Historically, Ukraine has got phenomenal history, which in its own right is going to stimulate tourism. And in hand in glove with that will be people interested in visiting cities and architecture and cultural monuments and museums. Improving those to make them accessible for a multi-language audience would be a good start. Advertising them outside of the country or as part of the country is very important. It's very often written about the architecture, and it's very often written about how young people in Ukraine are making Kiev an exciting place, making Lviv an exciting place, Odessa too, and other cities, Ivano-Frankivsk, for example. And that will encourage young people to visit for the interesting things that are going on in music and culturally for young people. And for, more mature couples wanting to come and visit historically, that would be interesting. But we also have the mountains for skiing, and, summertime the mountains are very nice to be in. We have also the tourist destinations on the beach. I'm not sure that we can compete in Ukraine about the summer holiday on the beach, because the whole of the Mediterranean is competing with us. But in terms of the skiing market, I think there's great potential there. Really, it's about access to those places easily and, for what is a modest sum, because people will go on holiday and not expect to spend huge amounts of money. They want to have a holiday which is good value. For cities, it's a 2-3 day break. For skiing, it's 1 or 2 weeks, but not more, so they need to get to the place quickly and with access by air and by road or rail, which is of a modest sort of level of income, That's how to encourage the people to come. I see society change in really positive ways. I see a clear Ukrainian identity being very, very strong, and this is something that perhaps was understood but not really talked about in the past. So I see that as a change. I see young people today having a strong national identity right across the country. In terms of the country itself, I see access is much greater. As a foreign person not speaking language very well, I find it difficult to maybe go to some place and fit in. Now that is more obvious for foreigners to come and visit. But in terms of the economy, I've obviously seen the bad changes too, and it's important to know that I see, although positive things are changing in terms of our infrastructure of management of the country, it's at the stage now where I believe that we are seeing positive signs of recovery in the economy, and that is the future that I believe is going to come in the next year, 18 months, and there will be strong changes during that time. I've seen it in a strong position for wrong reasons in the past. I've seen it at the bottom because of the problems we have at the moment and the economy, worldwide economy, and now I just see the possibility of growth, and for very good reason. So I think foreign investment in industry, creating jobs, is very, very much an aspect of today's market improvements. In all sectors, in fact, even today I've just found this publication: agriculture, banking, pharmaceuticals, legal services, telecoms, taxation, retail, energy, real estate, automotive, infrastructure, all industry sectors which are encouraging foreign investment and encouraging local, national investment and improving. It's hard to see when you're sitting watching the television at home to get an impression of that, but from somebody doing the research on Ukraine, they see that as positive signs of growth, and people are focused. And I'm very, very optimistic for the future.